Hey guys, it's me Rebecca. So this is my final wrap up for 2024, and in today's video I will be discussing every book I was able to finish in December. I am taking a book from December into January just cause it is the last day of 2024 and I'm on page 222 of the book, and I don't think I'll be finishing it today. I'll be making more progress in it, but I don't think I'll be finishing it. So yeah, and also I will be discussing a bit of what I plan to read in January so far, and I'm not sure what I will exactly be reading in January just because of some changes in my life in January. So who knows what will be my January wrap up. So yeah, let's get started. First book I was able to finish in December is Cloud Atlas by David Mitchell. This is 6 narratives, one amazing adventure, and a narrative that circles the globe and reaches from the 19th century to a post-apocalyptic future. David Mitchell erases the boundaries of time, genre, and language to offer an enthralling vision of humanity's road to power and where it will lead us. And we follow like these 6 individuals in different periods, like 1800s, 1900s, more modern day, and so forth. And we just see their stories and their adventures. And I do have to say, I liked how they were interconnected in the sense, like, in one narrative, they found the journals of the previous narrative, or in another, it was that the music that the individual in previous narrative made is now well known, and so forth and so forth. Like, I like how that was connected, how that connected all of the stories, and how like the stories of the previous generation, previous narrative inspired the current or new narrative, which I did like. Overall, I did enjoy seeing the different narratives and really how the stories of the previous one is inspired it. Like, people even worshipped one narrative when things went to absolute chaos and the world kind of reverted back to its original state. So yeah, I gave this a 4-star. And the next book I was able to finish in December is A Secret History of Witches by Louisa Morgan. And this is a sweeping historical saga that traces 5 generations of fiercely powerful mothers and daughters, witches whose magical inheritance is both a dangerous threat and an extraordinary gift. And we do see like the story of these women coming into their magic and being taught by their mothers, like, about witchcraft, about their gift, and seeing how they respond to it, how they do things that changes the narrative, not narrative, but changes, like, I guess, their line, or where the line is headed, like, from poverty to witches, or well, to a better social standing. And I do have to say, the writing in this, I found it perfect for winter, like, I don't know, I just really like it. And I also liked how with the new generation, they don't really understand like what the previous generation went through, like with their struggles. Like, they know the stories because their mothers told them the stories, but they can't understand what their mothers were going through, like actually like what they were feeling and actually witnessing it. It's this, to them it's this stories, and that their mothers kind of telling them these stories is like a warning. Like, they don't, sometimes they don't take it seriously, like they are like, oh yeah, like they don't see the actual threat their mothers went through. So I didn't like that. And there was mention of, you know, men not liking powerful women several times throughout this story, and I do understand, like, in every new generation, like, men are not really gonna change. Like, there were men who don't like the fact that women have power. But the amount of times it was mentioned, it was just, I found it a bit much. Like, I don't know, it just wasn't kind of sad. And, I mean, I get why, as like there are things that will never change, but and there are men who will try to suppress women and harm them, but still, I don't know, it's just not much. But yeah, I did like seeing this and seeing like what each generation went through and the struggles of each generation. And, yeah. Anyway, overall, I did give this a 4 star. And the next book I finished in December was Edinburgh Twilight by Carol Lawrence, and this takes place in Edinburgh in like the 1890s, and we follow Detective Inspector Ian Hamilton, who is no stranger to Edinburgh's darkest crimes. Scarred by the mysterious fire that killed his parents, he faces his toughest case yet when a young man is found strangled in Hollywood Park. With little evidence aside from a strange playing card found on the body, Hamilton engages the help of his aunt, a gifted photographer, and George Pearson, a librarian with a shared interest in the criminal mind. But the body count is rising as newspapers spin tales of the Hollywood Strangler. Panic sets in across the city, with each victim the murderers getting closer to Hamilton, the man who dares to stop him. And overall, I did enjoy this. I liked the mystery, the atmosphere of the city. Like, Edinburgh is one of my favorite cities I've been to, so. And we do get mentions of, like, of Ian's parents of the fire, but I don't know if how many years have passed since the fire to now, but he is now questioning if things were really how they are, like, if things were actually like with his family, like how they were when if he remembers them, or if his memories tell a different story to the actual tale. And yeah. I don't know, in a way it felt like the story of Ian's family with the story of this Hollywood Strangler felt like 2 different stories, and it just didn't really mesh together. Like, I think this is the first book in a series, so it might be the author setting up for future books, but was not confused, but wasn't the biggest fan of that way it was told, is because, as I did mention, it did feel like 2 different stories being told side to side and with nothing like to connect them. And you know, overall, I did enjoy the atmosphere. I enjoyed this story, and I did give it a 4 star. Like, it was a fun time for me. And the next book I finished in December was The Hazelwood by Melissa Albert. This is about this girl named Alice and her mother, who have spent most of Alice's life on the road, always a step ahead of the uncanny bad luck biting at their heels. But when Alice's grandmother, the reclusive author of a book of pitch dark fairy tales, dies alone on her estate, Alice learns how bad her luck can really get. Her mother is stolen away by a figure who claims to come from the quote supernatural world where her grandmother's stories are set. Alice's only need is the message her mother left behind: stay away from the Hazelwood. Alice has long steered clear of her grandmother's cultish friends, but now she has no choice but to ally her classmate and fairy tale superfan Ellery Finch, who may have his own reason for wanting to help her. To find her mother, Alice must venture first to the Hazelwood and then into the world where her grandmother's tales began, and where she might discover why her own story went so wrong. And we do get this story, like we see Alice, like the world of her mother. We do meet them really when they've kind of settled in New York temporary, and we see Alice's life and the kind of events leading up to finding her mom has disappeared or been stolen in a way from by the Hazelwood. And strange things starts to happen to Alice. Like, she starts seeing characters from her grandmother's like book in real life, and the real world and like kind of fairy tale world kind of start to come together and mesh together. And we do learn, I guess, Alice's true background and her history, that's to say. And overall, this was just fine for me. Like, I gave it a 3 stars. Like, it wasn't a bad novel. I just personally did not connect to it and the writing or anything, so yeah, it was just fine. it did make me question if I still do like YA, discuss the last few YA books I would have just been fine for me, so yeah, I don't know, I did like, no, but I'm not gonna say that. Well, overall, this was just fine, I gave it a 3 stars. And the next book I did finish in December was Jade War by Fonda Lee, which is the sequel to Jade City. And I'm just gonna give a synopsis to Jade City, which is the first book. Jade City is about this clan in this country called Kikon, if that's how you pronounce it correctly. If I butchered it, I'm sorry. But these clans, they wear something, they wear jade that gives them these abilities, and the clans are at war with one another, and this, yeah, see the events following, and with this book we just see the events following that first book. And with this book, there's more. Kikon is kind of allying itself with another country who's at war, and we see how the war affects the clans and whatnot. I mean, the politics between the countries and the politics between the two different clans, how they're kind of getting connected. And as well, I do like seeing how clan members, especially those who are in like the top position in the clan, how their personal lives are being affected by their position in the clan, and what they're able to tell people in their life who are not really much in the clan life and whatnot. So overall, I did enjoy this. I definitely enjoyed the political side of things a lot, and I did give it a 4 star. And the last book I was able to finish in December is a little novella called Small Things Like These by Claire Keegan, which I think it's like the perfect time of year to read this thing, just because this, I guess, main story of it, I guess, does take place on the Christmas period, and I did read this like a couple of days after Christmas. Like, this is a short little thing. My copy is like 114 pages, and yeah, I did like this a lot. And let me just tell you what this is about before I give my opinion, my thoughts on it. This takes place in 1985 in a small Irish town. During the weeks leading up to Christmas, Bill Furlong, a coal merchant and family man, faces into his busiest season. Early one morning, when delivering an order to the local convent, Bill makes a discovery which forces him to confront both his past and the complicit silences of a town controlled by the church. So yeah, I did like seeing how Bill's past connects to his present life. Like with his mother had him out of wedlock, and he was in this fortunate position where his mother's employer, this widow, allowed her to stay in a house and continue to work in a house. And the widow, she took Bill under her wing and really raised him as one of her own, and he is now fortunate in the sense, like, he has his own family, he has his own luck. And I do like with small things like these, it's like the things I guess we take for granted in a sense. Like, he mentions that a lot of people, they leave Ireland to seek a better life in like New York or in London. Like, they abandon their cows, they abandon their houses. Like, some of these people, they're in such poverty, they just don't have any other option. And with Bill, he doesn't realize that by coming to people's houses and delivering the coal, that he's giving them warmth. Like, there's a section in here where around the Christmas period where that people are giving him gifts and like small presents and cards, and he's like feels guilty that he's not giving anything back, when to them his greatest gift to them is the gift of warmth, and that taking like these small things, which are small to him, for granted, I guess. But yeah, my notes are that his mother could have ended up in the position that this girl was in, and she wasn't because she was shown kindness by her employer. People also often take shows of kindness, whether small or big, for granted. Sometimes people don't know how fortunate they are until they see the what if, and they repay in kindness. And with Yeah, with that, it's with the local convent. It's like a school for girls who are troubled, or girls like who are like shunned away by society for whatever reason. And he's a young girl, and they're not really being shown kindness. It's this cruelty in a way. Yeah, and yeah, I just enjoy this and the message behind it, and how he doesn't take things for granted, even his own family. Like, he could resent the fact that his wife didn't give him any sons, but he's not. All he has is the fact like his children are happy and healthy and they're doing well in life and in school. So, and so that matters to him, that his daughters are in a good position. So overall, did enjoy that a lot, and I give it a 4-star. Now, the book I'm taking with me into January is Cleopatra and Frankenstein by Georgia Meredith. This is about this artist from England named Cleo, and she marries this copywriter named Frank, and Frank is 20 years older than her. And it's not necessarily a marriage out of love, like, they do care about one another. It's really, Cleo is in the US, in New York, on a student visa, and that visa is about to expire, and her employer at this textile company, and they're not able to sponsor her, so she marries Frank to get a visa so she can stay in the US. And we need to see their marriage, their lives, and it's through the lives of the people around them. Cleo's closest friend, Kenton, who is struggling to embrace his gender identity in the wake of her marriage, or Frank's like financially dependent sister, who she's kind of been cut off just because of the wedding expenses and other expenses. Frank is not thrown away, but Frank is kind of given Cleo, so Cleo sacrifice my god, satisfied in his marriage. Yeah, his sister's always also just doing a lot of things, like she has a seizure disorder, epilepsy I believe it is, and the hospital bill. So yeah, and we just see the people in their lives as well. Frank and Cleo's own struggles with Cleo's depression and Frank's drinking problem, and let's just say Cleo and Frank, they're not good for one another. Like, Cleo tries to make Frank quit drinking, and he seems like he's not really trying. He gets defensive when she brings it up, and with Cleo's depression, she went off her antidepressants after marrying Frank, thinking she no longer needs them, and it seems like her depression's getting worse, and Frank's kind of being an absentee husband, and yeah, and we also see them kind of falling for other people, and that whole thing. And so far, I'm very much enjoying it. Now, that is all of the books I read in December, when I'm reading into January. And after I finish Cleopatra and Frankenstein, I do plan to jump into Stirling House by Alexi Harrell. And this is about Opal, who she needs to get a job to support herself and her younger brother, who she's raising. And she gets this job at Stirling House, which is this house which belonged to this reclusive author who's popular in their town, who disappeared over 100 years ago, and she takes this job as like the caregiver in his house, and when she's there, sinister things start to happen, and she also has to work with the heir of the house to deal with that and the ghost. So yeah, I'm very much intrigued about that. And after that, I do plan to jump into Heartless Hunter by Kirsten Cicerelli, which is about this witch and this witch hunter who get together and marry. We follow one who is this Crimson Moth, who is a witch vigilante who rescues her kind from being purged. And when a rescue goes wrong, she decides to throw the witch hunters off her scent and gain the intel she desperately needs by courting the handsome Gideon Sharp, who is the witch hunter. So that's that story, and I'm very much intrigued about that. And the last book I'm planning to read in January so far, and everything else I read in my January wrap-up will be... everything else I read in January will be my January wrap-up. And that is The Love Letter by Lucinda Wiley. And this is about when one of the greatest actors of his generation, Sir James Harrison, passes away at the age of 95. He leaves behind not just a heartbroken family, but also a secret so shocking, so devastating, that it could rock the English establishment to its core. And Joanna Hassan, who is an ambitious young journalist assigned to cover the legendary actor's funeral. The great and good of the celebrity world are in attendance, but Joanna stumbles on something dark beneath the glamour, the mention of a letter James Harrison has left behind, the contents of which others have been desperate to conceal for over 70 years. As she peels back the veil of lies that has shrouded the secret, she realizes there are other forces attempting to prevent her from discovering the truth. And they'll stop at nothing to reach the letter before she does. So, yeah, very much intrigued about that. And now, that was everything I read in December, what I'm reading currently, basically, and what I plan to read in January so far. Again, everything else I read in January will be my January wrap-up. So, yeah, that's it for this video. If you enjoyed it, please give it a thumbs up. Leave a comment below telling me what you've been reading recently. If you want to, please subscribe to this channel. And if you want to follow me on any social media, then all those links are in the down bar below. I'll see you guys next time I post a video. Bye.